YouTube, it's no secret that the Charlotte Hornets have had an up and down and rocky road throughout the last few years. You made great strides in your team building in 2021, where LaMelo Ball makes the All-Star game, and you guys end up making the play-in tournament and look like a real team on the rise in the Eastern Conference in that 2021 season. And since then, things have been, I said up and down to begin with, but it's really been down since that year, right? I'm gonna make some hot takes in this video, and I want every Hornets fan to let me know down in the comments section that you're in the building for this video, because I am in big support of what your team has been doing over the past, year and a half, I guess, since Michael Jordan has, sold the team. And I actually think the Charlotte Hornets in 2025 are building one of the best cores in the Eastern Conference for the future, and they're rebuilding in a very solid way, in my opinion. I'm going to explain why I think the Charlotte Hornets could be the next team on the rise in the Eastern Conference. And in this video, I'm going to go through everything they've done throughout the 2024 NBA offseason, as well as do a deep dive on their entire roster and what it looks like moving forward, not just this year, but for the future in general. Charlotte Hornets fans, you guys are in for a real treat. And I'm not talking about my video, I'm talking about your team moving forward. Here is everything to do with the Charlotte Hornets. Let's get into it. So as I mentioned, these are going to be the moves that the Charlotte Hornets have made throughout the 2024 NBA offseason. And let's start with the re-signings, right? So you actually end up re-signing franchise cornerstone power forward Miles Bridges to a 3-year, $75 million extension. This is a great move for Charlotte. Miles Bridges was one of the most unknown free agents as far as what his value would be this offseason because of his, battles in the past with the off-the-court issues, right? I'm not going to talk about any of that in this video. We don't really do that on this channel. I'm going to keep it strictly basketball, right? And Miles Bridges, despite all that stuff and despite his value being much lower than it, I guess, is on the floor because of that stuff, he ends up getting a big contract to stay in Charlotte. As I mentioned, 3 years, $75 million. I think Miles Bridges had one of the more underrated seasons as far as comeback players last year, right? And if you look at his numbers, I mean, they're so incredible last season with a, I guess, tumultuous lineup situation in Charlotte. He was one of your more consistent players and really showed that he is able to be an elite scorer in this league moving forward with your team. So locking him down, as one of the core pieces of this team, again, he's still a young player with a ton of upside and potential. We'll have to see just how great he can be. But I think this is a really great move for Charlotte. And, as I mentioned, despite all the off the court stuff, Miles Bridges has potential to become a great player in this league. And clearly the Hornets also share that opinion with me. You also re-signed Seth Curry for a 1-year deal. I think that's a fun storyline, right? Seth Curry is a great shooter and all that, but it really has fell out of a lot of rotations recently. He was really good with my Sixers, so I'll always like Seth Curry for that reason. And also just him being in Charlotte, I'm sure makes a lot of Charlotte fans happy, as Del Curry, Steph and Seth's father, spent most of his career with Charlotte and was a great Hornet himself. So just a fun storyline to have Seth Curry back in Charlotte on a 1-year deal. As far as the additions, you made quite a few, actually. Taj Gibson has signed with the Hornets on a 1-year deal. I think this is good veteran leadership in this locker room that the Hornets could really use from that forward position, right? And even if you're not going to play Taj Gibson meaningful minutes at the center or the power forward, you bring him in for veteran leadership, right? That's what he's there for. Taj Gibson, an NBA journeyman, and a very good locker room guy from what I understand, total professional, and could guide guys like Miles Bridges and some of these younger guys really well. Josh Green was involved in the trade from the Mavericks, right? And you actually end up getting him in that Klay Thompson trade, which is a good deal for the Hornets because Josh Green is a little bit slept on as a 3-and-D type of player. I think he's a really good defender from the wing or, the shooting guard primarily. And, he has a lot of good 3-and-D capabilities from the shooting ability. So I think this is a good deal for Charlotte, looking to boost their 3-and-D kind of wing situation. And Josh Green is one of the better ones you could find probably on the open market. He's got a long-term contract already, so this is a great move for the Charlotte Hornets, no question. Reggie Jackson you also acquire via trade with the Denver Nuggets. It'll be interesting to see if he actually ends up with the Hornets playing games next season, because this was more of a salary dump for Denver. And they also gave, I believe, Charlotte 2 second-round picks, so that's a pretty good deal if you're Charlotte. You just acquire a contract and a veteran player that can maybe teach your young guys, even if you're not going to play him, again, similar to Taj Gibson, can come in and provide some veteran leadership, and you end up getting 2 second-round picks just to bring him into your team. I mean, that's just a great deal, right? So good job by Charlotte there. For the departures category, you actually waive 3 players, and one of them being Davis Bertans, the shooter, been on a lot of teams as of late. Bryce McGowan's was waived, and Alexei Pokusevski, so you waived Poku as well. Didn't see him as, kind of a long-term fit in Charlotte, so that's a lot of interesting moves for the offseason, and pretty, substantial ones, I'd say, as far as Miles Bridges and, getting Josh Green to, build with as a 3-and-D wing. He could slide in as a starter next season. No question about it. This is a good player, Josh Green. So, really good moves there. And as far as the draft, you had a really solid draft if you're Charlotte. I mean, with the 6th overall pick, you select power forward Tidjane Salaun out of France. This is a great NBA prospect. He's a power forward, as I mentioned. It'll be interesting to see if he starts next to Miles Bridges or if he'll sit on the bench for the first couple of years. We'll have to see how that works out. I think he could start next to Miles Bridges. Salaun is one of the younger prospects in this draft, only 18 years old currently, and he has a big NBA body already. 6'9", 217, is what he's listed at. He's had a good summer league so far, from what I can tell. He's a physically gifted player. He's a good athlete. He's got a lot of length, and I think could be a really solid defender for Charlotte moving forward. This was a great pick, and he has shown flashes as a shot maker as well. So if he can get some of his offense a little bit better, no question, this could be a steal at 6 overall. Everything I'm seeing about this kid is just amazing, and also the fact that he's 18 years old, he's probably super raw and hasn't even touched the surface of his best basketball to be played. So great pick at 6 overall. I mean, I just absolutely love it for Charlotte. You also select point guard KJ Simpson out of Colorado. He's a 6 foot 187 point guard, a little bit undersized, right? But it appears he's a scoring guard, and it's kind of an interesting thing. The Charlotte Hornets have had a little bit of a revolving door of backup guards, right? Especially from the point guard. You've gone through a ton of those guys, right? So I think just taking a shot on KJ Simpson at 42nd overall could be a good thing. So that's kind of everything Charlotte has done in the 2024 NBA offseason. Now let's get through the deep dive on their roster and why I like this core so much moving forward for years down the road in the Eastern Conference. Let's get into it, folks. So we're going to start with point guard, premier playmaking, and just a totally natural God-given ability from the basketball gods, and that is LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball has so much talent, it's hard to put it into words. He has that innate ability to play make. He's a big point guard that can find any spot on the floor. He has amazing vision, just that God-given vision, right? As I talked about, just basketball IQ off the charts for a young player. He does have his limitations. He's not a perfect player, right? I think one of them is, basically finishing inside the paint, but he is a great scorer and shooter to go with that playmaking. He's a triple-double threat, good rebounder at the guard position. I don't think he's a very good defender, but that can be worked on, and, maybe you don't need him. You find ways to not have him be such a prominent defender, kind of how similar to Dallas does with Luka Doncic. When your player is so great offensively, defense isn't your biggest concern as a coach, right? So LaMelo Ball is probably one of those guys where you're probably never going to ask LaMelo Ball to do a lot of defensive things. I mean, he always does get a lot of steals, which is, I guess, one positive. If you're going to be not a great defender, you should probably find a way to make some plays happen, like steals, like blocks, and those things. So that is definitely a positive as well. But, this is the star. This is the best player on your team. This is potentially your franchise player. And, while LaMelo Ball has had a lot of injury concerns, hopefully he can put together a solid 2025 healthy season where he plays above 70 games and has a breakout year once again, like he did in 2021, earning that all-star selection. I love LaMelo Ball's game, and I love him moving forward as the franchise player on this team. Your second best player is probably Miles Bridges. We've talked about how Miles Bridges is a prolific scorer from that forward position. He's an absolute athlete, right? This guy is a freak athlete. He could play the power forward, could play the small forward. I think he, defensively could really play either one, but he actually improved his three-point shooting. He's not the best three-point shooter, and he's not the most efficient scorer numbers-wise, but these are things you could work on if you're Charlotte, and Miles Bridges is just so talented of a player. Him and LaMelo Ball's chemistry is super well, and we really haven't seen them play a whole lot together since 2021. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond to 2025, with that chemistry and stuff like that, see if they can build it back up to where it was with the, fast break, transition, alley-oops, and stuff like that. So, these are two great scorers, and you lock down Miles Bridges for a long-term extension, which was a great move, as I mentioned before. I think the X factor on this core, and probably the guy with the highest ceiling, is second overall pick from last season, and that is Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller has all of the offensive capability to be an elite scorer in this league, and when I say elite, I mean this guy could be a top 5 scorer in the league. Someday in a couple of years he could be averaging 25-30 points a game. He's that great of a scorer and shooter primarily. If he can work on getting to the rim and scoring efficiently, getting to the free throw line a little bit more, more, I guess, ways to score other than the three-pointers, he will be an elite scorer, 30 point per game capability type of scorer in this league. He's already one of the best shooters. I mean, he averaged such a great percentage last season on amazing volume as a rookie. And people talk about the Paul George comparisons. They're absolutely true. They're very similar builds for players. They are very similar type of players. Brandon Miller's got an absolute bag, and I think he's going to be cooking people in 2025 just like he was as a rookie. There's still a lot of development to be had as far as his offense, Hornets, but I think it can be as good as anyone you're going to see in 5 years as far as scoring the basketball goes. Now we talk about Tidjane Salaun, and we already mentioned all the good things about him. I think he has such a high ceiling in this league. You could be looking at a two-way star that has a lot of capability to do a ton of different things. Shot making, as I mentioned, is something that you've seen flashes of. Defensively, he has the length and the size and the athleticism to be able to hang with power forwards and small forwards. Could be a switchable guy that you use in your front court. He's a very raw prospect, no question about it. But if he can put all these things together in a consistent way, this is again a two-way star potential player in my opinion. Only 18 years old, the biggest thing to note right there. For the centers, you have two really good similar type of centers. I think the better of the two slightly being Mark Williams. Now Mark Williams is a rim running center. That's the type of centers the Charlotte Hornets like to play. He's got good defensive rim protection to him, and he's also a great rebounder and finisher. Mark Williams is definitely a guy I think you could build around as that center of the future. He's never going to be a guy you dump the ball into the post, right? He's not going to be like Joel Embiid or anything like that. He's not going to be a prolific scorer. He's just a solid athlete from the center position. He's got great size and good defensive contestability where he could just contest everything at the rim and rebound at a high level on both ends. Mark Williams is, I think, again, the starting center of this team moving forward, and Nick Richards is right behind him. I mean, Nick Richards is a similar type of player to Mark Williams. I think maybe a little bit worse defensively, but really good athlete, gets up and down the floor really well, finishes at the rim at a high rate. These guys are just good athletes that can, fit in the system that Charlotte likes to run well, and they fit LaMelo Ball perfectly as a complementary pieces. You can really swap them out for each other throughout a game, and basically you always have a fresh athletic center that can finish at the rim and play a little bit of defense on the floor at all times. If you're the Charlotte Hornets, that is a great recipe for success in the Eastern Conference. I think the depth on this team is, a little bit lackluster. That's probably why I'd have them, not making a play-in game this season. They also have their first round pick next season. If they have the 15th best record in the league, right? This pick is top 14 protected. If it is over the 14th best record, they will end up giving it to the San Antonio Spurs. That's probably why I'd say they will be, maybe 1 or 2 seasons away from really going after the championship in the Eastern Conference. This is a team that's not ready in my opinion, but if they really tried to put everything together and, put all those veterans on the floor and stuff like that, they could be a play-in team. They're that good already, but I think they will wait another year to really get things rolling with this, winning mindset and stuff like that, and putting it all together because of that draft pick being pretty important for their future. And like I said, if it is outside of the top 14 slots, they will be giving it to San Antonio. I don't foresee them trying to do that. So I think this is a lottery team moving forward. But some of the notable bench pieces you have are, we talked about Reggie Jackson, we talked about Josh Green and Taj Gibson, a bunch of veterans that you could put in and plug and play guys like Seth Curry. Grant Williams is another guy I think, could get some action off the bench for this team. If you don't want to start Salaun right away, you maybe want to start Grant Williams at the 4 and play Miles Bridges at the 3. Could be interesting to see what happens there, but Grant Williams is a dog. He's a good defender and a great corner 3 shooter on the catch and shoot, so this guy can add a little bit of edge to this team. Cody Martin is probably the second best role player, maybe the best, off the bench role player you might have. He is a solid wing, just like his brother. Shot the ball poorly last season. He's not the best offensive player, but he's a good, solid defender from the wing, and he's got a little bit of on-ball capabilities. He's a really good playmaker as well. I mean, this is probably one of your best playmakers off the bench. Just a really good skill set for a role player. I mean, he come in at the forward position and just kind of have the ball in his hands and play make a little bit, and if he can get some of that offensive efficiency up just a little bit, I think he is one of the best role players you could find for that forward position. He's just so versatile skill set wise for a utility piece. And again, another young guy. He's only 28 years old. Really, the Hornets don't have a ton of veterans other than the guys I already mentioned. Nick Smith Jr. has had an absolutely amazing summer league so far with his impressive shooting ability and scoring. He's really showed out in the summer league. I think this could be your backup point guard. You look to him to score off the bench, kind of a 6-man type of guy. Could be, right? We'll have to see what the rotation looks like. But you also have Micic at the point guard position, who is an on-ball creator and a playmaker. He was just in the U.S. Olympic game from Serbia and actually had a pretty good season with the Hornets quietly last year, only playing 30 games. But this is a guy that impressed me a lot with his playmaking ability. I mean, he averaged 11 points and 6 assists in 27 minutes a game on 21 starts and 30 games played. This is definitely a player I think you should keep around and keep your eye on as an offensive playmaker. Other than that, though, there are some more players I could mention, young guys, but this team is just really going places moving forward. I think in a couple years, I'd say 2 years. I give them 2 years. This team is ready to compete in the Eastern Conference. Maybe they wait for some teams that are getting older, like the Sixers, like the Knicks, to kind of phase their way out of these big time Eastern Conference spots. And then in a couple years, they have all their draft picks set. You have a ton of draft picks moving forward. They, finally spend money in free agency. They get someone to come to Charlotte. Maybe they get just the right personnel. They keep this core developing, and, a lot of this core is young, so maybe they're a ton better by that time. In 2 years, I think you could be looking at one of the best teams in the East if everything goes well with their development program and they finally decide to put it all together. I think they're about a couple years away, and I think the GM and the front office know that about the Hornets. That's probably why they're waiting so much to, really try to win games, right? I think this is a team that probably ends up winning similar to what they did last year, 20, 25. I could see them winning 30 games, right? Anything more than that, I think you're setting yourself up to send your pick away. But if they come out rolling early and start winning games, I don't see why you stop them. I think you let this team win if they're gonna, but I just don't think they're gonna, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So the front office is really up to them whether or not they want to keep tanking and, maybe wait a couple years more. And I will say, guys like LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges, they could be getting a little impatient with this front office in a couple years if things aren't getting put together roster-wise to where they can compete, because, they're basically young, entering their prime, and, we still haven't had a lot of pieces to be able to win with. I could see that being a scenario that plays out with LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges, but, hopefully, just knock on wood, I'm knocking on my keyboard right here, if, the LaMelo Ball and everybody can stay healthy this season. The Hornets have dealt with a lot of injuries, and I just think, hopefully everyone can stay healthy and put a good season together. But, this is my take, though. I think in a couple years, this team is scary, and I love the young core that they're building in Charlotte. One of the most promising cores if everything goes well health-wise, and Charlotte continues to make good decisions in the front office. I think they're running it very well since Michael Jordan sold the team. That's pretty much it for the video. Let me know down in the comment section, like I said, if you're a Hornets fan, what you think of this team, what you think your, roster moving forward. What do you think? Did I miss anything in this video in regards to your team? Definitely possible. I'm not a Hornets fan. I don't pay attention to every single thing they do. So if you guys have information, if you're a Hornets fan, or you just know something I didn't say, or, maybe I mischaracterized something or a certain player, let me know down in the comments. I'm always trying to learn things about new teams. I love engaging with other fan bases. So Charlotte Hornets fans, let me know down in the comment section how many of you there are, how excited you are for this core, and do you agree with my take about your team in this video? So just let me know all that stuff. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more deep dives moving forward on different teams. Let me know which teams you'd like to see next down in the comments. But we will be uploading content just like this every single day on this channel. That's what we do here. Every single day uploads on this channel. That's what I can promise you. Videos just like this. We'll be doing deep dives, Summer Olympic stuff, free agency, tier list, quizzes, all that good stuff on this channel every single day. That's what you're getting if you subscribe. So please do it. You guys have been amazing with all the support, and I just love you guys so much. Other than that, drop a like on the videos, follow my socials, check out my other videos. Links will be down in the description. Subscribe if you guys haven't already, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Hornets fans, stay positive. You guys are almost there. You're almost there. You've almost done it. You're almost ready to go. I will catch you guys in the next one. This is your boy D-Haven. As always, peace.